some of those wins from last night.
That was awful, wasn't it? Was it 16-1? Was that the final? That was terrible. Oh, yeah, if you're a Red Sox fan.
No complaints. It was just like, go.
Here, Paul, you want one of these?
One more day.
Oh, we need one more. One more.
Helen, do you want one or are you going to share with Paul?
I'm good, I'll just listen.
Oh, we need one more.
Paul took his nice pill today, so. we can share.
I guess Helen didn't get one. I think Helen didn't get one. Yeah, I guess.
You have an extra one.
So, y'all really aren't missing out on
We're
much.
just good. They're not gonna charge us for the trip.
I was thinking of that.
Okay, I'll hold you down.
That's right, I need a bag.
Yeah.
Whatever's left over from the culvert.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it 6 o'clock yet?
He was actually.
30 seconds, dear.
30
Oh,
seconds.
my goodness, you guys are rigid. Wow.
1991. Mark, I think it was just one email for you today. I printed it off and sent it back. The person called first and then she followed up with
I
an
didn't
email.
call it, I didn't call it.
Yeah, so I printed it off, so.
Might just email her.
Call the meeting to order, please stand and join with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the October 9th, 2018 Fort Town Board meeting. We'll take a moment of silence for the deceased Fort Inn residents. Eva Stewart, Laurie Jean Hout Aiken, and Amanda Halls. Amanda was involved in that tragic limousine accident that took place a couple of days ago. And we take also a moment of silence for all the other people who were killed in that accident. Thank you. I learned today that there's someone at the school maybe putting together a vigil, candle vigil for Amanda. And Gretchen is in touch with the person at the school and is going to be kept up to date as to what's going on. So if it happens, the town board and anybody else would obviously be ready to attend. Okay, we need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make that motion.
We need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Aye votes, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting on September 10th, 2018.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion needed? Aye votes, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Next, we need a motion for the special town board meeting that was held on September 13th of 2018.
I'll make.
This was the workshop meeting we had for the Lake Havac Park manager. You making the motion, Denny?
Yeah, I will.
Who's going to second that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Aye votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain, since I wasn't here.
Okay, next we need a motion for the budget workshop meeting that was held on October 2nd, 2018. Somebody make a
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? we need, if I were on this, it says, special town board meeting, we probably should call it a budget workshop meeting, okay?
Okay.
So we just, when we get a chance, just make that change.
Is that the October 2nd one?
Yes.
Could I also ask for my name to be listed as present instead of Mr. Barney?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Are you sure it's Sam Hall? Okay.
I think it was like 3 or 4 of us that looked at that too. Sorry about that, Sam.
It's okay, I looked at it, didn't pick it up for just now.
Yep, sorry.
I votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, next on the agenda is the financial report. And the financial report is not ready and will be posted on the website on Thursday. And at next month's meeting, we will read into the record 2 months of financial reports rather than just one. So we need a motion to authorize the payment of the bills.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion needed? I votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, next on the agenda is the opportunity for the public to comment on this evening's agenda. Is anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this evening's agenda? Since I see no hands, let's move on with the agenda. Next is that we're going to have a presentation by Deborah Donahue. Debbie is the superintendent of Washington County Public Works Department. She's recently attended a conference on Salt Summit update. There's a lot of discussion that's taking place about salt being used near any water body, lakes, streams. And I asked, since Debbie attended the meeting, if she'd be kind enough to spend a few minutes with us just to talk about it so that we can have an update as to what was covered at the summit. So Debbie, the floor is yours. So and I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to come.
So, who am I talking to?
Everybody.
Okay. So I went to the Salt Summit and I thought I didn't put together a formal presentation, which will be obvious to you soon. But I wasn't quite sure which way you guys wanted to get your information. There was 2 ways that the Salt Summit went. One way was the technical side, which was what I was interested in coming up on my first winter of having to plow snow. And the other was the environmental side. I think you're a little more interested in the environmental side. But I've got some information on that too.
Okay.
Because I went to the technical side. But it ties in because they're trying to get us to reduce our salt use. But the towns don't really use salt.
We use,
It's very little.
Very
It's
little, less than 500 ton a year,
so it's a mixture
So
of
it's
sand.
very-
over 76 miles of road.
But I think they'll still want you to use even less.
We're gonna price one up, as you know. Considerably.
All right.
So in other words, we're not really gonna worry about salt.
Well,
We're gonna use it.
Well, we're gonna use it, but
it's gonna be it's the future of use of salt is gonna be in the headlines for quite a while. I printed out this, and I'll pass it around to you guys to look over too. It's from the Adirondack Explorer. It's an article, and it pretty much sums up the whole thing for the day. And it was a goal of cutting the salt use by 50% by 2020. And they gave all kinds of statistics about how cutting the salt use actually is more effective for freeing up the roads. But I didn't bring any diagrams to show that. They showed, I went to the technical aspect, and they showed how if you use a brine, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the brine. When I worked down in Albany, before a storm, those roads were covered, all of them, with brine. So they talked about the effects of doing that. I'm sure that you'll see the county roads we're gonna start trying to do that to help. This article talks about how they call it the acid rain of the time. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that.
What's brine?
Oh, brine? Brine is where you take water and add a 23% solution of salt, and you spread it on the road the day or 2 or 3 before a storm, depending on what type of storm is coming, and it dries, and when the snow falls, it starts to melt it right away, so it gives you an edge up on the storm, depending on which storm you were expecting. Apparently there's many different kinds of storms, which I'm gonna find out soon. One question,
Is the brine, what they're talking about, that's gonna be so much harder to get off our vehicles than the salt was? I mean, the salt you can basically wash off, but the brine will not wash off. You've got to scrub it.
Really? I hadn't heard that. I don't see where it would be any difference because it's just salt mixed with water. If they use some of the chemicals, like they use magnesium chloride and stuff, maybe that's what they're talking about. That would be something I would want to look into because I don't wanna make things worse for residents.
So why don't we let Debbie continue to make her presentation, and then if we have
Well,
any questions at the end, we can.
They talked a lot about how they want to bring everybody on board. It's not just the counties, the towns, the state roads. They want to get the residents using salt on their properties less. They want to get I'm trying to think. Parking lots using a lot less salt. Maybe not necessarily brining, they could do that, but use a lot less salt as well. So Lake George, the town of Lake George, participated in what's called SWIM, and that was this handout. It's a sustainable winter management program, and there's a insert that talks about all the criteria for doing SWIM. And it's just a huge education program, really. And they did a lot of data collecting and studies over time, over the past at least 2 years, through a grant where they put up cameras and you could watch it snow and everybody had to gather that data and they were all interested in that. And but Lake George, the town of Lake George actually got this SWIM award, and they're the first town in the country who's got that award. And they're really trying very hard to keep the salt out of the lake. So, any questions?
Did they give you any idea of what the cost is for this brine?
No, they didn't talk cost at all.
Because it's easy to do when you get a grant, but if you don't get a grant, it becomes,
A huge,
right, but then on the other side of the equation is the fact that what damage does it do ecologically later on to streams and lakes?
With the brine.
With putting just salt down. I guess the state puts, you correct me, Paul, if I'm wrong, the state just puts plain
Straight salt, as well as the county.
the county does plain salt as well.
where we do a mixture of salt and sand, right? So,
I wouldn't even say it, call it a mixture, it's like mostly sand, right?
Unless you get a real bad storm, then we add a little extra, but.
Yep. There is two different things. See, I'm all about the technical, and you guys are more interested in environmental. But there's two ways of doing things. There's the brine that we've been talking about, where they spray it on and it dries. But there's also a thing called pre-wetting. So when you're following a truck and you see the salt coming out, if you can pre-wet it, and that's what I'm looking into at the county, is to try to figure out how to do that. When the salt hits the ground, it doesn't spray all over and go off into the ditch. And you can actually save 1/3 of your salt bill by actually just spraying a little bit of brine onto the sand as it comes out. There's 3 different ways of putting salt water, pre-wetting the salt. You can take these rods that are really long, and you'd have to have somebody come in and do it to your salt pile, and they inject water. Or you can do it in the back of each truck, which seems a little cumbersome for getting ready for a storm. Or you can have it spray out somehow, and that's what I'm trying to find out. As the salt comes out of the truck, it pre-wets it, and it saves the salt from going off to the side of the road. There was just a statistic on that I wrote down that was interesting. But when you don't pre-wet, 6% of your salt goes into the middle third of the road. So the center line is in the middle, in the middle third, there's 46%. And then a little bit on the outside, but the shoulders end up getting 15% on each shoulder of the salt that you put down. 15% goes on each shoulder. But when you pre-wet the salt, that 15% is reduced to 2%. And the center is, goes from 46% to 78%, will stay in the center of the road. So both brining will have its uses, but it wouldn't be used in every storm, but the pre-wetting would be used all the time. I wish I learned more about the environmental impacts.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Board members or anyone in the audience? Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to come pay a visit to us. At 6 o'clock at night. Thank you very much.
And here's this, you guys want to circulate that. Just the article.
Okay, next on the agenda for new business, it's a company by the letters PMG. A gentleman came to see me about our National Grid New York bills, our light bills, and talked to me about the benefits of putting LED lights in the town and in the garage, and what it would cost and what the savings would be in year one and what the savings would be in future years. I was going to bring this to the board tonight, and I think I spoke to the gentleman earlier this afternoon. I'm going to invite him to the November town board meeting and have him speak to the board, so we get all hear the same story at the same time for him as to what he's doing, okay? And then, next under new business is the number of members on the Fort-Ann Planning Board. Right now, the planning board is made up of 7 different seats, and they expire at different times. And as you are well aware, we have 3 open board seats, and hopefully we'll fill one of them this evening when we vote on the resolutions, but that would still leave 2 more open board seats. We've advertised, board members have reached out to people they know trying to get the seats filled, and the board chairman has made the request that we consider reducing the number of seats from 7 to 5. So that's what's before us. This is not something new that we just had an open seats at this time, but it's new to have 3 of them as long as it's been so far. Last month, they had to cancel the board meeting, the planning board meeting, because of the fact that there's only 4 board members, and you need 4 right now. You need it for a quorum, but only 3 members showed up, so we couldn't have the meeting. So I'd like to ask the board members how they feel about reducing the number of seats from 7 down to 5. Any comments or any questions?
Yeah, I would just like to comment that I think that in fairness to the public and individuals that have projects or things that need to be accomplished, a lot of times there are timeframes that are put on them financially or from lending institutions and those types of things. And it really puts those individuals that are coming before our planning board behind the power curve for bona fide projects if in essence we can't meet as a planning board and do the due diligence that we're required to do because of the lack of membership. So I would support reducing the number of individuals on the planning board.
Any other board member have any comments?
I think it's a good idea to reduce it.
Right. So then we'll need a motion. It'll be, that will become resolution
105.
number 105, Barbara?
Yeah.
By locally. So we need to have
The
a,
resolution can authorize, we don't need a resolution, but you can direct me to do that.
have the local, so we need to have a,
Public
have a
hearing.
hearing.
See, I do. What's fine?
Okay, so, all right, so we need to schedule a public hearing, okay? For the reduction of the number of seats from 7 to 5. And we will have the public hearing next month.
So that's gonna be the title of the resolution is scheduled public hearing.
Great.
Okay.
Would you like a motion to do that, Supervisor?
In 1 second.
Okay,
I guess we could do that right now, sir.
then I'll move it, I'll make the motion.
That's number 105.
Yes.
And I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion needed? I votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? Okay. Next on the agenda are the reports from the town officials and the committees. Next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock here at the town hall will be the next budget meeting for the 2019 budget. I'm pleased to be able to report to you that the comptroller's office released the fiscal stress scores for all of the towns, and I'm pleased to be able to tell you that for the fiscal, there's 2 scores you get. One is the fiscal score, and the other one is the environmental score. The fiscal score, and this is like playing golf, so the lower the number, the better you're doing. The best category you can be in is 25 or below. And 40 for received this year the fiscal score of 6.7. It had been higher in the past, and it changes from year to year. But on the environmental score, which we don't have a lot of control over the environment, the rating was 16.7, and it's been 16.7 for the last 3 years. So that was really nice to see. And if we want to continue to have a score of 6.0 was a perfect score. Pretty tough to do when if we want to keep the score down at 6.7 on the fiscal side, we're going to have to tighten the belt, the budget, and what we, how we can, making certain that we can control the money the best possible way for the longest period of time. I received a letter from Great Meadows. They're starting in November. They're going to be performing a weekly siren test every Wednesday at noontime, and it's going to start in November. We received a letter from the Department of Transportation regarding the 3-color signal at Route 149 and Hadlock Pond Road and Tripoli Road, and they said at this time there's no need to put a 3-color signal in at that intersection right now. We need to schedule the next Hadlock Dam emergency plan review, and I would like to schedule it on Thursday, November 1st at 6 p.m. And we'll have some people here from public safety. I sent the board the photos. I don't know if you had a chance to see them yet of the drone took of the dam and the lake. So they'll be here to help us do the review of emergency action plan. And I'll send the board an email tomorrow regarding, so you can mark your calendar down for November 1st. The next thing is update on the Hogtown culvert. The lowest bidder was Ellsworth and Son. However, yet the New York State DOT has not officially awarded the project to the Ellsworth and Son. They're still waiting for paperwork. I spoke to GPI, our engineer. They were going to speak to Ellsworth today and provide me with an update, but as of 5:30 this evening, I haven't received the email yet from them. So until that happens, no work can be started up there. It's getting late in the year, so we have to wait and see what's going to happen. Today we received the Hadlock Pond Dam inspection report, and each of you have a copy of it now. Paul, you and I and Bupa Jr. should get together and just go over it like we've done every single year in the past, just to make sure we're all on the same page as to the report was, I read it today and highlighted it, and I thought it was pretty, I think they had some nice things to say about what's happening on the maintenance of the game. And the last thing I have on for this evening is next month's town board meeting will be on Tuesday, November 13th at 6 p.m. here, because Monday is the holiday of Veterans Day, okay? So next is the town board members. Debbie?
I'm good.
Gretchen?
I've got the Office of the Aging newsletter here. They have a lot of information that people should look at. Barb, I think you put it up on the
Yep,
book?
yep.
Okay.
When I get the new one, I take the old one down. yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, it's Medicare open enrollment, October 15th through December 3rd, and it tells who you can go to get help, planning for long-term care, October programs, pop-up events, just all kinds of activities. And October 17th is a luncheon at the library, the Fort Eaton Library. Cooking matters at the store. So you need to call in and get reserved for that. But if you get a chance, look at this information. There's a lot here. The bike trail. The Champlain Canal Trail is coming up with a booklet, a new booklet. We have one, but we're coming up with another one, and it deals with each section or each town on the trail from Waterford to Whitehall. And they've got one section here, Town of Saratoga, Villages of Victory and Schuylerville, and it shows pictures and it talks about them, and then it tells what's in town, what's of interest in each town. This is just one section of it. Fort Anne will have a section, but it's not done yet, and every town will have a section. But if you want to look at this one, it's pretty interesting, and it shows where the trail is going to go, or where it goes, and how much of the trail is done. I think it's going to bring a lot of activity to the towns. So we've got that if anybody wants to look at it. Next Thursday, Richie and I are meeting with Jim Bonney, who's the design supervisor of the Empire State Trail. We're going to be discussing, among other things, material for the trail surface, whether we want asphalt or stone dust, trailhead parking, trail security with ATVs, snowmobiles, etc., and ownership and maintenance. I think it's going to be a really interesting meeting because this is, again, the Empire State Trail opposed to the Champlain Canal Trail. But they're going to be following basically the same thing, and we need to secure who's going to be paying for a lot of this.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to the meeting, and you'll be hearing more about it. I think that's it.
And Sam?
Yes, currently coordinating with Tracy from the LA group so that to put a meeting together of the Ballard Hill Committee for either the end of the third week of October or sometime within the fourth week of October, so we can finalize that aspect of the project and where we are, and then prioritize initiatives we ought to be working on, so we can take a look at grants out there to fund those, and we can get moving on those initiatives.
Okay. Denny?
Just want to say thank you to Mark. Last year, brought up 2 properties on Morgan's Lane that needed to be taken care of. And the first property, 2 weeks ago, we went in and cleaned it out, cleaned the house out. It is now secured and it's up for sale. The second property, I believe Mark is been taken back by the bank, the one that the neighbors are taking care of now, so.
Yep.
Probably, I don't know, we'll be dealing maybe with them in the spring, but just wanted to say thank you to you for, you know, getting things rolling, so to speak. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Barbara, help me out for a second.
Yeah.
On the public hearing for the planning board seats, Sam
Yeah.
made the initial,
Yes, and then Debbie
then Debbie,
made the
and
second,
we
yeah.
all, and we voted all ayes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next is the town clerk report.
We have the September 1st to September 30th report, and a check was given to the bookkeeper for $595.31. Last month, you'll remember, I mentioned death transcripts showed on there. This month, I didn't have any death transcripts, but I did have 2 birth transcripts. So we're making a little bit of progress in getting things organized in the registrar area. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Next, Paul.
Winter sand piles all up, hopefully it'll stay that way all winter. We finished our road mowing last week, took the mower off today, put the broom on in case it's needed. Clean up after a few farmers maybe, for their mud season with their corn. We started working up on Farmwoods Road off of Goodman Road today. That's one of the roads that we're gonna blacktop yet this year. We started changing culverts today, cutting a little bit of brush yet. We're currently grading the dirt roads in between the rain and getting the trucks ready for winter.
Okay, thanks. Next, the enforcement officer, Mark.
Got my report. If anybody's got any questions?
Pretty straightforward to me. Anybody have any questions for Mark about his report? Okay. The dog officer is not here. And historian, who wants to speak?
Yeah, there I am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, first of all, I'm still cleaning out from the previous one. So far, most of the records that were vital to town, Bart got now. I've had 3 emails, 1 phone call, and 1 extensive letter, which is a real long inquiry. I won't go into it, but I am working on it. I've already sent pictures. It's a Revolutionary War vet we did find on Taylor Woods. I want to say thank you to the town again. Taylor Woods looks really nice up there, Slicer. Was able to find it. So that's pretty much it. I'm still going through, working with Ballard to see what else we can find. It's going to be 40 some odd years of stuff to go through at this point, so just do the best I can.
All righty. There's no report this evening from for the Hadlock Park District. So we will go on to the resolutions next.
Rich,
Yes.
can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I forgot to mention that in the Chronicle this week, Dan Ladd has an article about outdoor safety, and he also has a picture of our kayak launch in the canal. So if you get a chance, get the Chronicle. It's a nice little article.
Great. Barbara, would you begin with resolution number 100?
Well, resolution adopting the sexual harassment policy for the town of Fort Anne. Resolved that the town board of the town of Fort Anne hereby directs the town clerk to ensure said policy is duly posted and distributed in accordance with the sexual harassment policy and the New York State sexual harassment laws.
Okay, we need a motion for,
I'll move it.
any further discussion needed? Aye votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? What's going to happen now is a copy of the resolution will be provided to each and every employee of the town. And with the copy, when we send them out, there'll be a cover letter asking the employee to print their name, sign their name and date, accept that they've received a copy of the policy. And in each building, it's necessary for the policy to be on the bulletin board, in the library, the garage. I guess that's all the only places it would be at this point in time. This will apply to everyone, part-time employees, full-time employees, anyone that's gonna that gets money from the town needs to get a copy of the policy.
So it'll be with the fire departments as well, rescue squad?
They'll get copies.
Contractors.
Yeah. they'll get copies. They are not employees of the town, but we'll provide them with a copy of the policy itself.
They do contract with the town for the,
Yeah, but they're not employees.
but that's why they'd be
Right.
covered under here to the contractors, the organization contractors, okay. Got it.
Hey, Barbara, number 101.
101, resolution approving CDPHP HMO Silver -324. Now therefore be it resolved that upon due deliberation of the available policies taking into account the employee's needs, the available coverages and the costs associated therewith, the town board of the town of Fort Anne approves CDPHP HMO Silver -324 and having CDPHP HMO Silver 324 as the health insurance administrator effective December 1st, 2018.
Need a motion for that?
I'll make it.
Second.
Any discussion? I votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? I do want to mention, I want to thank Paul and his workers that are covered under the health insurance program. This is the second time in 3 years that they've worked with the town to make a change in coverage from what they currently have to a new plan. If we had renewed the plan that we were with MVP, the premium would have gone up 11.8%. And that would have been added to the budget for 2019. But by transferring over to the CDPHP HMO, the rates are actually going to go down 1.2%. And like I said, this is the second time now in 3 years that Paul and his guys have worked with the town to try to keep the health insurance rates as best as possible in line. It's a difficult thing to do with this. The whole entire country is suffering because of the cost of health insurance. Okay, next borrower, number 102.
Resolution appointing the Fort Anne Planning Board member. Whereas the town board wishes to appoint George F. Smith, 372 Hadlock Pond Road, Fort Anne, New York, 12827, to serve as a member of the town planning board. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fort Anne Town Board hereby appoints George F. Smith, 372 Hadlock Pond Road, to serve as a member of the Fort Anne Planning Board for the remainder of the term Richard Winchell vacated through December 31st, 2021.
Do we need a motion for that?
I'll make it.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for taking on this responsibility. I votes aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? I guess I should have thanked you after we voted. So, okay. Next, resolution 103, Barbara.
Resolution adopting the Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Whereas the town of Fort Anne has reviewed the plan and affirms that the plan will be updated no less than every 5 years, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Fort Anne adopts the Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan as this jurisdiction's natural hazard mitigation plan and resolves to execute the actions in the plan.
Need a motion for that?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? The plan is 1,400 pages long, a little more than 1,400 pages long. The section for all 17 towns and this, I think it's 6 villages, I'm not sure exactly how many villages, but I believe it's 6 in Washington County. They're all in the plan itself. The plan for the town of Fort Anne is 32 pages long. The plan is listed on the website, so if you're interested in having some reading, you can go to the website and have an opportunity to view the plan. Okay, we need aye votes.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? And next is resolution number 104.
Resolution to accept Lake Hadlock Park manager resignation. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Fort Anne accepts the resignation of Joseph Lisinski, Lake Hadlock Park manager, effective October 12, 2018, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Fort Anne accepts the resignation of Joseph Lisinski as Lake Hadlock Park manager for the town of Fort Anne, effective October 12, 2018.
Need a motion for that?
I'll move it.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I vote aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? And thank Joe for his time of service as the park manager. Okay, next on the agenda is we need a motion to go into executive session.
You made that
So
motion.
that's- Oh, public comments, yeah. We're gonna- turn the page to-
Careful.
Okay,
You okay?
all right.
okay, you're okay. Okay, public comments, is there anyone in the audience that would like to be heard this evening? If so, please raise your hand.
I just have one comment, Sam, if you don't mind, the sexual harassment, the fire department, Fort Anne Fire Department,
Yes.
we've already done ours a couple years ago, we already have a thing. We had to take a class, but it's signed, we have it already at our firehouse.
And this is a new regulation that the state is bringing forward right now, and what it's happened in the past.
State mandated, basically.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I guess,
Yeah.
all right, I guess we have to, so we'll probably have to update our class.
We'll make sure you get a copy.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else in the public who would like to be heard this evening?
I have a question more than an answer. George Smith, 372 Hadlock. Who sets the parameters for draining and filling Hadlock Pond, the dates?
The draining and the filling of Hadlock Pond. The town does.
Okay. I would like to suggest maybe that we drain it 2 weeks later, like November 1st, allowing us to enjoy the foliage around the lake. And when we fill it 2 weeks after the ice is out, giving people time to work on their docks and that, because the frost level over the winter is what screws things up.
Interesting.
Thank
We'll
you.
give some consideration to it, you know.
I don't know if there's permitting
No, I
involved.
don't think so. The permit from the APA definitely has language in it, and the language states that the town has the right to continue the drawdown of 60 inches.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say when you have to open the valve. We've got to give consideration for, I think, a couple of things I could think of off the top of my head, is if you wait 2 weeks to open the valve, and if you get some heavy rain during that period of time, takes 3 weeks maybe for the water to get on. You can't just open it up and have all the water rushing
Right,
in.
I understand that.
So we'd have to have some discussion with Paul about this.
Okay.
And on the other side, on waiting to 2 weeks to fill it, I understand what you're saying, but if you're waiting, you could be gambling that you may lose some of your runoff to fill it. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen
We
of
can
another.
look at it. But this spring,
Yeah.
I had to bust ice out in order to score off my pilings and that. After the lake was drained out, or the ice was out, everything was still
It's
frozen.
still frozen.
Okay.
Okay,
Either way, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
I think Paul, we could have some discussion about that, and maybe next month, Paul, you could maybe comment on it at that point in time, if you would, please. Okay. Anybody else in the public like to be heard? Yes.
Arlene Green, and I just want to report that the Fort Anne Historical Society received a $5,000 grant from the Washington County Home for Aged for looking into the availability of a parking lot for handicapped persons at the old Stonehouse Library.
Very good.
Yay.
Now, next week, Arlene, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get together with you and Paul and see if we can go over to the library, make sure we're all on the same page as to where you think you want to have this parking lot, what size it's going to be. Can we find the markers in the ground that designate where the boundary lines are? Because if we can't, we need to have it surveyed. And if we don't need to survey it, it would be great. Then after we have that meeting, I could see us having a meeting with the neighbor to see how, you know, you wanna do this so we don't get everybody all in a tether, okay? And, so let's try to, if we could catch a day like today, next week sometime, Paul.
Yeah.
You know, the three of us get together and see what we can find out, all right?
Okay, fine.
And why don't we put you in charge of the weather for next week? And on Monday, okay, on Monday, why don't you call here and tell me what day you think is gonna be a good day to do that? And then I'll call Paul and then we'll get together, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right, is there anyone else in the public that will? Yes.
Michelle there. Who takes care of the checks and balances for the sexual harassment?
The new report, the new state law, there's an attachment that the employee would fill out, return it to the town supervisor, and then it would be looked into, and there's some very specific timeframes in which you have to be able to answer the sexual harassment charges, and obviously, when one would be received, the town attorney would be made known about it immediately.
So ultimately, the town mandates or
Yeah.
handles it.
It would eventually come to the town board for a decision. And obviously, there are other avenues for people to pursue. If they don't want to pursue it through the town board, they can pursue it through the state. They have the right, obviously, to bring a lawsuit against a specific individual, if that's the case.
Thank you.
Lovely. Anyone else? Okay. It's now 6:44, and we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move it.
And Hall, and the reason for the executive session is to speak about ongoing litigation. We shouldn't be, hopefully, more than, hopefully, 10 minutes, and then we should be back, okay?
Don't know who's watching. You know, it's funny, the three of you have blue shirts, like they talk, and two of you have brown.
Okay, sorry. I didn't see those.
Last year, you know, I changed for us. They all have new ones, the A's on it, and who made a motion, who said, so on, got all the stuff.
No, JJ. I'm gonna sit there. Kill time, I noticed.
Okay, it's 7:01, and we need a motion to go back into public session.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any discussion? I vote aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? And next, it's 7:02 PM, and we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move it.
Any discussion? I vote aye. Any nays, any abstentions? Okay.
Yeah, all new stuff, while you guys were in there, I put out, changed the special meeting to budget workshop up at the top that you asked.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got all the A's on there,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good, thank
so
you.
everybody's got to do it.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
She's good.
Yeah. I didn't talk. We were out last week.